Hello and welcome to Fresh Perspectives. My name is Gail, and my guests today are two ladies from the Cornell Cooperative Extension, and they are here to do a food demonstration. They're nutrition educators, and they are going to do a cooking demonstration today. You've met Trish Dragoo before. She was here, I think it was 2 months ago.
Yeah, October,
yeah.
Yep.
And next to her is Heather Gregory, who you have not met before. And they're here to do a cooking demonstration today. Now, Heather, do you want to, you weren't on before. Would you like to tell us something about yourself?
Sure, I can do that. I started with Cornell Cooperative Extension. I'm starting my third year as an EFNEP nutrition educator. I don't know where to start. Before that, I was a freelance writer and graphic designer. I grew up on a dairy farm, and I am a certified yoga teacher.
Oh, you know, I've been practicing yoga since almost 46 years.
Wow.
You know, I started when I was 25. Yeah. Well, we'll have to have you come back on again sometime, and we'll do a yoga.
I'd be happy to do that, sure.
A
That
yoga
would be
episode
fun.
together. And Tricia, you want to remind them some things about yourself?
Sure. So I'm kind of a jack of all trades. I've had lots of jobs, but I've been with Cornell Cooperative Extension for almost a year. It'll be a year in January, and it's been an interesting year for sure.
Yes.
Oh, has it ever?
Yeah.
We're in the final. Yeah. Well, actually, this won't air for about another month or so.
That's right.
And
It'll be the new year.
so actually, for those of you in the viewing audience might like to know that we're doing this in the middle of, this episode is a little ahead of the halfway point of the month of December.
Yeah.
So, so anyways, yeah, it's been a really challenging, 2020 has been a really challenging year.
For sure.
And I really hope things are going to be better for 2021, especially for the people who've been affected by it. Not just people who've had it, but people who've been out of work on account of it, you know, what it's done to the economy.
Yeah.
I mean, if this were to go on much longer, we'd have to start all over again and recreate our country.
Yeah, possibly. It's definitely, yeah, not a great situation.
No. Okay. Now, were you planning on starting the recipe now then?
We can, or
Okay.
if you wanted to, if you had some more questions to ask, or.
Do you have any questions, Justin?
Camera shy.
How about you out there in the control room, Chris? No comment. Okay.
So I
Okay.
guess really before we head into the recipe, I guess let's talk about our program a little bit, just in
Absolutely,
case
yep.
it's for anybody who didn't see the last time
Oh,
I was
yes,
here
yes.
with my friend Gail. So we teach nutrition education, and even with the pandemic, we are trying to be busy, and we have a variety of ways that we can teach now. You know, one good thing about this pandemic is it has forced our society to grow technology-wise, I think, in ways that
Absolutely.
we probably should have done a long time ago, right?
Absolutely.
So we are teaching classes, and we have a variety of different curriculum that we teach, and they're about 6 to 8 lessons, and each lesson is about 45 minutes to an hour long. And we focus on nutrition. We want to teach people how to incorporate vegetables into their diet, because you know, vegetables are really the best way to get the most nutrients with the least amount of calories. And so you could literally eat a huge salad, and as long as you didn't put a ton of cheese, a ton of really high-fat dressing and croutons on it, you can eat a huge salad, be full, and not blow your calories for the day, you know.
Right.
But like Heather and I were just talking yesterday, sometimes you're trying to come up with a veggie dish to have with dinner, and it's just like, I don't even know what to make.
Yeah.
And but there's so many good recipes out there, and there's so many good, the internet can be amazing. And you know, there's Pinterest, there's so many awesome recipes on Pinterest. You can Google, you know, what to do with a zucchini, and you know, come up with a ton of recipes. And so that's kind of that's one of the things that we teach, is how to incorporate vegetables into your diet. And you want to add something to that?
Sure. So we really hit on the basics. We try to, and we focus our sessions on families. So anyone who's taking care of children in any way, it could be a parent, a brother or sister who takes care of their siblings, an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent, even a neighbor that watches children after school and is serving them snacks, may qualify for our sessions for free. So we do focus on some really basic things, like the I don't want to say dangers, but the detriment of sugar-sweetened beverages is a big one in our society that we really need to get people away from. How to plan a meal, and Trish and I spend some time on Facebook almost every Friday planning our menus live, so that other people can see what we do and maybe get some healthy meal inspirations from us too. And we are the first to admit when we flop also, so that people know that planning is fluid and it's not something that has to go perfect every minute of the day. We talk about smart shopping at the grocery store and how to stock your pantry affordably. And the benefits of movement too. So every session that we teach incorporates some sort of little 5-minute, it might be a game for the family to play together. It might be an activity that I tend to look at my people, and I guess just the yoga teacher thing, you know, sometimes I'm like, oh, we're going to throw away what Cornell said and we're going to do some yoga right now. So, you know,
Yeah.
so we do try to customize it to the needs of our people and give them something that they can walk away with and put into place in their own homes. So our curriculums are, we teach breastfeeding nutrition. So for breastfeeding and pregnant moms, we have our standard curriculum that is almost every topic I just covered. Our Healthy Sense curriculum really focuses on budgeting. And we have a diabetic curriculum for people who are managing diabetes and how to navigate that just with an eyeball MyPlate. Essentially, we work off the USDA MyPlate to guide everybody's meals and intentions.
Yeah, I know the last few years I've been hearing a lot about something called epigenetics, and it has to do with, it has a lot to do with preventing genetic disorders. Apparently, if a woman eats a really good diet while she's pregnant and continues to feed their child while they're growing up a good diet, and then the person carries on as an adult continuing to eat a good diet, that a lot of the time those bad genes don't get turned on. Have you heard that?
I've not. I've heard the term, but I haven't studied it or anything myself. But it does make a lot of sense that what we do right from the very start impacts us all of our days, and the habits that we begin when we're young and carry through do have a positive impact on our lives. It makes an awful lot of sense to do it that way. And I often tell our expecting moms, you know, if you're not getting your nutrition from your food, then your child is drawing that nutrition from your body, and especially your bones. So in pregnancy, it's really important to make sure that we're getting some nutrients like choline and calcium and iron, that, you know, and the food is the place to get it.
Yeah.
And I know from personal experience, I didn't have the best diet when I was in my 20s and having my kids. And I had 3 kids in 6 years. And when my third child was born, I had a ton of cavities. and that I had to get taken care of. And I know, and I'm very confident that that was because I wasn't, you know, eating the way that I should.
Yeah, that sounds like what was going on with me. You know, it wasn't until I was getting through my mid-20s that I started to learn that it was important to eat a really good diet.
Right.
So
Yeah, and you know, and it's really not, so you don't, it's better if you can start the healthy habits when you're younger, but if you're an older person and you're now just like realizing, oh, you know what, my diet really hasn't been that good, it's not too late to start.
no,
And
it isn't.
you know, we don't want to give anybody the impression that, oh, I'm 50 years old and I've eaten crap my whole life and,
Right.
and now I'm doomed. That's not true. You can reverse some of the, like, heart disease can sometimes potentially be reversed.
It can, yes.
Type 2 diabetes can be reversed,
Right,
or especially the pre-diabetes. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's never too late. And so if you're not sure if you're eating the best diet, then, you know, yeah, give us a call, and we can work with you and help you figure that out. So it's really not hard. You just have to learn some basic, gain some basic tools.
Right,
and,
right,
you know, and
right.
then-
Yeah. You even hear about people who have, because they've changed to a better diet and so forth, and started doing the right kind of exercises and things, that they can go back to looking like they're 10 years younger than they are.
Right.
So,
Yep.
so it really does help.
Yeah, it really does. And really the biggest thing that, if you can only think to make one change right now, the biggest thing you can do is just cut back how much sugar you're taking in,
Oh, yeah.
or if you can cut it out completely, which is really hard. But certainly if you cut back sugar, that is probably the most important thing you can do to start to become more healthy.
And you being a certified yoga teacher, you probably know that the upside down yoga poses,
Inversions, yes.
that they're supposed to help to reverse the aging process too, because of the fact that you're reversing gravity.
Yeah, they do say that. Yes, I think you'd have to practice them an awful lot to. But in the short term, though, the inversions are invigorating, and so it's often attributed to being the same as drinking up a cup of coffee. If you stand on your head for a while, you'll feel really invigorated when you come back up. I'm just glad I'm back right when I'm done, but
I think I would be dizzy and fall over.
So you guys, when you're ready, you can start the recipe then.
Okay.
Tell our viewing audience what the name of the recipe is, and maybe tell them what the ingredients are.
Sure. So what we're going to make today is mulligatawny soup, and it has onion, celery, apple, sweet potato, a little flour to thicken it, curry powder, vegetable broth is what we brought, or you can use chicken broth if you would rather use that, tomatoes, a little lemon juice, parsley, pepper, and then if you're not lactose intolerant, or if you're not a vegan, then you can at the end you can add a cup of non-fat or low-fat milk to give it a little bit of a creamy texture. So that's what's in it. So I guess we'll get started.
Okay.
So I have this. This feels pretty hot.
Good.
Okay, so we're making this in a skillet. At home, you would.
Did it fall off?
oh,
Oh, is that?
Oh, yep, I was stepping on it. Thank you.
You want me to help you with that there? It's a good thing he noticed that,
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
or I probably wouldn't have. It's kind of hard to get them in there. Hopefully that'll hold now.
I'll try to not step on it again. Okay. So we're using a skillet. At home, you would want to use like a Dutch oven or a small stock pot. This recipe makes 4 servings. So what we're going to start with is a tablespoon of vegetable oil. So probably about 1 time around is about a tablespoon. That look good?
Yep.
All right. And then we're going to give that a second to heat up. And what you're looking for when you're heating up your oil is when it gets shiny, then, and it's noticeable, then it's ready.
It smells good.
And then, so we have our chopped, so it's a 1/2 cup of onions and 2 ribs of celery. So the onions are chopped, the celery is diced, and I'm going to put those in. Probably a little hot. All right, there you go. And we want to stir those around, and we're going to cook these for about 8 to 10 minutes. So what we are looking for, and we're probably not going to do the whole 8 to 10 minutes because that would get kind of boring on TV. But what we're looking for is we want the celery to start to get a little tender, but we don't want to cook it all the way through yet because we're going to add some other stuff.
Yeah, you'll have a minute while I do this apple anyway. So.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah. So.
What kind of vegetable oil did you use there?
So, can I see
Yeah,
that for
sure.
a second? So this is
Just,
vegetable oil.
Just
So,
vegetable oil?
yep, it is soybean oil.
Soybean oil.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Um,
At home, I would probably use olive oil.
right, right.
yeah.
Extra virgin preferably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and if you are somebody who has wanted to try using olive oil, but you're not sure, or if you've used it before and you're thinking, I don't like the smell of it, I don't like the taste of it, keep in mind that a lot of the olive oil, and this is a fact, a lot of the olive oil on the store shelves is already old and possibly a little rancid. And so if you get olive oil, it should have like a light fruity smell to it. It shouldn't smell yucky at all. All right. So I'm just cooking these for a minute.
Heather is over there preparing the apples that are going to go in the recipe.
Yep, we're just going to dice an apple. You could, I peeled this just because the directions said to, but you really wouldn't have to if you wanted the extra fiber and nutrition from the peel. I know that I have some texture eaters in my house, and we talk a lot on our Facebook Lives about families dealing with food goals. So we don't like to think about picky eaters in a negative way because everyone has their things that they're going through and growing through in life. So we try not to shame any of that. But I would have some texture eaters in my house that wouldn't touch the soup if the apple were unpeeled. But you could absolutely choose to not peel it and have the extra fiber and nutrients from the skin. So. And that's the great thing about a lot of our recipes. And also, if you're looking for a healthy recipe site, foodhero.org is a good one. Lots of different ideas for veggies and fruits there. Yeah, I lost my train of thought.
Also, for looking for recipes, if you Google cooperative extension and then you type in like whatever ingredient you have that you want to find a new recipe for, it'll come up with, because every state has cooperative extensions. Ours happens to be affiliated through Cornell University. But, you know, like Vermont has one, Utah has one, Montana. So, yeah, there's so many good sites out there that have, you know, healthy recipe options. And then also Cornell University has a blog called Day to Day Eats.
That's right.
And they have recipes and then just articles with good nutrition information.
You ready for apples?
I am ready for apples, yes.
Slice this in here.
Okay.
You know, I used to make this recipe. It was after I acquired a certain recipe book. I think it was called the Tasahara Vegetable Cooking Book. And there was a recipe in it called apple and onion stir fry.
Ooh.
I kind of liked it a lot, you know, because it's right at that time of the year if you've got a vegetable garden where you've got both onions, and if you've got a couple of apple trees in your yard, you've got lots of apples and lots of onions. And
Right, or especially in New York, you know, you go to the store in September, October, November, and there's tons of apples and different varieties of apples. And so, yeah,
yeah.
I'll have to try to find that. That sounds really good. Apple onion stir fry.
Yeah, we've been talking about apple onion grilled cheese sandwiches too.
Apple and onion grilled cheese
Yeah,
sandwich.
Yes.
I actually made that.
Did you?
When did I make that?
Well-
it was back in November, I think.
Yeah.
So
really
how
good.
do you do that? You do something with the apples and onions?
So what I did was I caramelized the onions, and then you just slice, have really thin apple slices, and then whatever cheese you want, and you just build it like a grilled cheese and cook
Yeah.
it like you would a grilled cheese, and it was really good.
I learned about it when I went to Quebec. I went to a yoga retreat, and I had never been out of the country before, and I'd never driven into Canada by myself, and I did, and wound up, in a French-speaking town. And I took French in high school, but I didn't remember anything. And then we went to a restaurant that the menu was entirely in French, and I was terrified. I didn't know what I was ordering, but I saw something that was apples, pomme, and then something that was fromage, cheese, and I'm like, well, I like those things, this will be fine. And I ordered it, and I sat waiting thinking I was getting this exotic dish, and it was grilled cheese with apples and onions, and it was fabulous. But I'm preparing myself to see like squid or something that I'd never had, and it was so simple, but it was fantastic. So I've done that ever since. That's good.
Yeah.
And it's a way to sneak more veggies in, and fruit in an unexpected way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now the apples are not cooked before you put them in the sandwich?
I like the crunch. I mean,
Okay.
if
Yeah.
you don't cook them a whole lot, then they're a little bit soft and warm, but yeah, they're not mushy.
Yeah, you want to slice it kind of thin.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
Yep.
it's good. So for this recipe, the apple that we use, is that a Granny Smith?
That was a Granny Smith.
So
Yep.
it calls for one large tart apple. And so Granny Smiths are tart, and there are other varieties too, although I'm not sure. I'm not a huge fan
Would
of-
Cortland work?
I think, yeah, they're kind
Yeah.
of tart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most any apple really would work. It's just, it'll give you a little bit more flavor. But if you had a milder apple, you could probably just add more lemon juice and get the same effect.
Right.
So I just got turned on to Crispin Apples, which is a New York State apple, and I thought they were delicious. They've got a little bit of a tart flavor and live up to their name. They're crisps.
And that's the key too. When you're cooking with apples, you kind of want to get a hard apple. That some apples are kind of soft, and they don't hold up as well when you're cooking with them. So,
True story.
and again, that's information you can find on the internet, or if you're at the store. A lot of times, I know, like at Wegmans, on the signs for the apples, it'll say if it's crisp,
descriptions, yeah.
if it's tart, slightly sweet. So
That's starting to smell fantastic.
it is. Yes. All right. So we're sautéing the apple with the onions and the celery,
Yeah.
and then we're going to add we probably could have, we didn't want the apple to get turned brown, so we probably could have cut the apples and in real life, we would have cut the apples and the sweet potato at the same time, like before we started cooking, and then we would have added them at the same time. But this works just fine because in a few minutes, we're going to add the broth and then, let it simmer for about 15 to 20 minutes to soften the finish cooking the vegetables through. So, all right, so now we want to add the seasoning. So here we have, so this is the curry powder and the parsley, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And didn't we put the pepper in there too?
Yeah, we did. So this is the curry powder, the parsley, and the pepper. And if you add the seasonings during the saute period, then you're kind of toasting the curry powder, and that kind of helps bring out the flavor a little bit more. And it just smells amazing.
It does.
Yeah. Can you smell it? Yeah.
Do you girls ever use cilantro in any of your recipes?
I love cilantro.
I do too.
Cilantro is, I guess it's a genetic thing. You either love cilantro or you hate it.
Well, that explains it, because my one person doesn't like cilantro at all.
Your one food goal.
Actually, no, my teenager, he is my budding chef. He notices flavors and seasonings and spices in food. It surprises me sometimes. He'll be like, "You put curry in that," and be like,
Yeah,
he doesn't like cilantro, and that's like this one thing that he's like, nope.
Yeah, it is actually a genetic thing, and
That's neat.
yeah.
you know, it's funny. Cilantro, the leaves and everything are called cilantro. It's funny, most herbs, the seeds are like the same name as the whole plant, but in the case of cilantro, they call the seeds coriander.
Right.
Yes,
So I'm
that's
not
true.
sure what the reason for that is.
Yeah, I don't know either. The flavor must be different. I don't
It
use
is
a lot of-
different. It
I
is
don't use a
different
lot
because
of-
I used to when I was younger just use
Flour.
the
Oh, you need the flour next?
Yeah.
just
Sorry.
use the coriander seeds, but then in more recent years, I was finding this flavor in things that like professional chefs were like making, at restaurants and things. And I just had to find out what that taste was. And finally, somebody who came to one of our Vegetarian Society dinners brought a recipe, and I could taste that there's that taste that I like so much. And I said, what does that taste? And the person goes, cilantro. So now we have it in our garden every year, even now.
Oh, nice.
Now that I found out where that taste came from, but
The challenging thing about growing cilantro is that it bolts really fast.
Oh.
yeah, it does.
So
it
it grows, it flowers, and goes to seed. So if you want it throughout the season, you want to succession plant it. So you would plant some, and then a couple weeks later plant some more.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't plant all of your seeds at the same time.
Right, yes. So what I'm doing now is I'm adding the flour, and this is just to help kind of thicken the soup a little bit. And
you do that during the process of sautéing.
Yes, yep, because it helps to cook it, so then you don't have that flour taste in your soup. And
This would be a great time too if you did have extra vegetables left over in your refrigerator or whatever, that you could throw them in this soup, and it would just add a little bit more depth and flavor.
Yeah.
That's something that we talk about a lot in our sessions, is food waste.
So, in other words, go along with the recipe, and then if there's teeny tiny amounts of leftover vegetables, just throw
Sure.
them.
Why
Throw
not?
them in long enough to get reheated.
Yeah.
right, yep. Yeah.
Or if you didn't have something for this recipe, you could swap out something else, and it's fine. I mean, it's going to change the flavor a little bit and the nutrition, but it's in good ways. It's fine. So, yeah, we talk a lot about working with what you have and not being afraid to edit a recipe.
Yeah, like, so our goal, so our main goal is to help people eat more healthy, but then our other goal is to help people who maybe have food insecurity, or who aren't sure about how to most effectively spend their food dollars. We help teach them, how to shop and to prepare their food in a way that they're not throwing a ton of it away. And in fact, so we have a Facebook page, and it is
Nutrition Educators of CCE Chautauqua.
Yeah, Nutrition Educators of CCE Chautauqua. And we just had a post the other day about, do you like leftovers?
Yeah.
My husband is not a huge fan of leftovers. There are some things that he loves. He will eat spaghetti every day. He'll make a huge batch, and he will eat it cold, and that is so
wow,
gross.
wow.
I don't even.
Wow.
Yeah. So when he compliments my cooking, sometimes I'm like, should I feel like that's a compliment, or does he just not have any taste?
Wow. Take it as a compliment.
Yes.
It's fine.
And that's because there are some things that I've made that he's not been a fan of. But so my husband likes leftover spaghetti. He loves leftover chili, beef stew. Those are things that, after sitting for a couple of days, they kind of get better.
Well, I know this wouldn't be for people with celiac disease and like that, but I have a preference for the whole wheat pasta
Yes, okay.
over the somewhat refined
Absolutely.
pasta.
That is something that we encourage too, making half your grains whole grains and trying to get away from the more refined versions of those grains. Absolutely, that's a good one.
Yeah. Okay, so what I'm adding now is the broth.
Do you use the whole container?
Yep. It calls for 4 cups, and
There's 4 cups in that
There is.
container,
yes.
okay.
Yep. If you don't have broth, but you have bouillon at home, then you could use 4 cups of water, and then just however much bouillon you want to add, however much flavor to your soup. So we just need a teaspoon of lemon juice, and I forgot to bring a measuring spoon, so I'm just gonna
Dribble some in.
Just dribble some in there.
I don't think with the lemon juice it matters
No, I
too
don't
much
think so
if it's
either.
not perfect.
Right.
So,
And then this is a small can of diced tomatoes with the juice, so we're adding that. Something to think about too is how much salt are you consuming throughout the day. So the recipe calls for reduced sodium vegetable or chicken broth. You can get canned tomatoes that are no salt. So, those are some things to think about. If there's hypertension in your family, if somebody in your house has high blood pressure, then that's probably the option you want, is to go with the low salt. Because then when you dish it up, whoever wants more salt can just add it as they like. So,
Absolutely.
all right. And that's it except for the milk. So I think we will.
Dish up this one?
Sure. So we actually prepared some ahead of time. So it's just like when they on a real cooking show. Yeah.
They do that, don't they?
They do. Yeah. And this actually looks and smells really good. So maybe I'll just.
Yeah, look at just the difference of this simmering a little bit more. I don't know if we can get a shot of it, but it looks creamier even before we've added the milk, just because there's that milk in the way there. Oh, almost.
Here, maybe if I dish
if we
some
put it in a
up.
bowl, maybe
Yeah.
that'll work good.
All right, so this is, if you can see the difference in the bowl versus what's in the.
And we could just add the
pan.
milk in one and leave it out of the other, so
And
Yeah,
then
that's
it,
true.
then it
Option.
gradually thickens.
Yes, yep. So if you would
She is going to have me try it.
try it.
So the only thing you haven't put in then is the milk, right?
Correct, yes.
Right.
So, okay.
hopefully it's not too hot.
I love sweet potatoes too.
I do
Me
too.
too.
Yes. Yep.
Mm.
And I can eat them just with some salt and pepper. I don't
Yeah.
even often put butter on
Yeah,
them.
no, I know. I
Although
love 'em
sometimes
just
I
the
do
way they are.
because, butter's just amazing.
I know.
Now, a lot of people think they have to have crackers with their soup. What do you recommend for that?
Well, there's so many options out there. I mean, you certainly could just get saltines or oyster crackers. They do make whole wheat
Absolutely.
crackers.
Triscuits are a whole grain, so the
Sure.
woven wheat crackers
Yeah,
are a whole
or
grain
even
variety.
what are the other ones? Mm-hmm.
There were some that I used to
Wheat
buy
thins.
that I liked a lot that were called Acmac crackers that are whole grain.
Oh,
Haven't been able to find them in a
I've
long
never heard of
time,
them.
but they were really good, you know.
Yeah. You could even just have a piece of whole wheat bread with some butter on it, or a pita.
Yeah.
You could toast some. You could buy some whole wheat pitas and cut them up and toast them.
I love that idea.
And that would
Toasted
be like
this
a
time of
cracker.
year is perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people even make their own crackers homemade.
Yeah, I've thought about that, but I haven't gotten that. I haven't gotten that ambitious yet.
Yeah.
So
You could make dumplings to put in your
you
soup. too.
absolutely could. Yes, you could make dumplings. You could make them with white flour. You could make them with whole wheat flour. If somebody has a gluten sensitivity, you could use buckwheat, which has kind of a strong flavor. So if you have like a gluten-free flour blend that you use, you could use that and add some buckwheat to it just to get some more fiber into whatever you're making. So yeah, dumplings are super easy, and you don't even have to cut them out. You could just do drop dumplings. Just make a dough, and then just with
You just
spoons.
drop them into the hot
Yeah, spoon it and just
soup and
dump it in. So now I'm going to add some milk to what's left here, and then let that.
Yeah, there is this one recipe that
wow.
I've made from time to time.
That's
It's
good. Yeah, it
if
does.
you've got a lot of winter squash in your garden and tomatoes, it's like tomato squash
This one for the milk
soup
version and this one
with
for the-
cornmeal
right.
with cornmeal
That's a good idea.
dumplings.
Oh, that would be really good.
Yeah, that's kind of good.
Yeah, I love cornbread, so that would be. That's something new to try.
We're always up for taste adventures, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I do know one person though, and she and her mom have done cooking demonstrations, vegan ones on Fresh Perspectives. But she has an autoimmune disorder called mast cell activation syndrome. And so she can't eat, she's severely allergic to corn. And
wow.
she could die from eating it.
Yeah.
So
I have a friend who is allergic to corn, and
Wow.
it took because that's something that you don't hear about. And
No.
then for people who have celiacs or gluten intolerance, that's what's in a lot of the gluten-free products is corn.
really?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
Yep. So
Well, she can't. Well,
Are we allowed to carry these around?
she has to stay away from other glutens also.
No?
Um,
Oh, right. I'm forgetting I'm attached. I'm sorry. Hold on.
never mind.
you were going to go somewhere?
I wanted
She
to
was
deliver
gonna-
soup. I feel like I should be taking soup to people.
Yeah.
We don't move much in a live, so.
So what do you think? You like it?
I like it. I like it. For those of us who are vegan, you leave the milk out. I mean, it's perfectly good with just the broth.
Right.
Sure. Okay.
So that's it. And then you just let it simmer for 15 to 20 minutes until your apples and your sweet potato are soft, tender. And then if you want to add the milk, you can. And it is a cup of non-fat or 1% low-fat milk. Or like Gail is eating it without the milk, and she says it tastes fine. So
Could I have a napkin?
absolutely,
Oh
yes.
my goodness,
Sorry.
yes. I didn't take
There
a
you
napkin
go.
over there either.
Oh,
Gonna
well.
move this just a little bit closer to the camera so we can get a nice. Do you want some of your soup, Trish?
Yes, I would try a little bit. I didn't have time to get breakfast on the way
I
out.
didn't do that either.
You didn't
ate-
have breakfast?
I kind of did. I ate so I like the little cucumbers.
Oh,
that,
yes, I
'cause
do
they,
too.
They have a thin skin, and they have a nice flavor. And so I ate one of those and an apple on the way up.
Oh, gosh.
So that was my breakfast.
The kind of thing that digests really fast so that you get hungry right away.
Oh yeah, that's good.
We've been so excited about soup season because we did so many Facebook Lives in the summer, and it was all, our menus were like salad and salad and salad and salad because, it's just so delicious, and all the different vegetables coming through the farmers markets in summer are just perfect for salads. But then it gets a little boring to plan for people, like, oh yeah, we're having a lot of salad. So now it's soup and sandwiches. We do a lot of theming with our menus too, or we try to.
Yeah, we do.
So
in fact, my last week I talked about my husband and I are gonna try to kind of focus on the Mediterranean diet. And so how that's different from our traditional diet is it uses more like the olive oil instead of the regular vegetable oil, more vegetables, olives, nuts and seeds, and less focus on red meat and some chicken, but really a lot of vegetables. And I found a good, like a week's menu of for a Mediterranean diet, and it was interesting. One of the nights, the dinner was steamed spinach and artichokes, and that was like the whole meal. And I thought, well, I said, that's not going to work for my husband. And so, when I make that, we're going to have to add some chicken to it.
Yeah, we've well, actually, it was back towards the end of the fall. I had Bill Kewick on. He does a lot of organic gardening, and he brought in vegetables to show, and he gave me this big, he grows mushrooms too. This big wad he gave me of oyster mushrooms.
Nice.
And we just had those after helping a tossed salad. We had just those for the rest of our meal. We just cooked those up. And
I bet
those are
that was
really good.
Yeah, and mushrooms are really good for you. The thing is, and this isn't really something that we focus on, but it's something that I've done a lot of research, is using food kind of in place of medicine. Now, certainly, if you have a serious illness or a disorder that needs to be treated, you need to be treated, and you need to get the medicine and take it. But, if you eat fruits and vegetables, and you're getting enough protein, then you're using your food kind of as a way to prevent
it's really
disease.
preventative, absolutely.
Yeah. And I don't know.
Yeah. Aristotle said that centuries ago.
Did he?
Your food should be your medicine, and your medicine should be your food.
Yeah, and that's really good advice. I agree with that. So
Definitely.
yeah. So what did you think of it?
I love it. I love it.
For those of you who don't want to or can't because you're lactose intolerant, you could use plain almond milk in this soup.
Yes, you could. Thank you. And I meant to mention that, so thank you for remembering.
Any of that, the soy
Yep,
beverage
soy
would
milk,
work, or any of those.
almond milk,
Whatever.
Yep. So,
Absolutely. And again, that's what we were talking about with being able to edit a recipe, that if you see something in a magazine and you want to try it, and maybe you don't have a specific ingredient, but you have everything else, think about what you can swap, what you can use in your cupboard, and make it your own, and don't be afraid to do that, because I grew up thinking that recipes were like chemistry. And if you didn't have it exactly right, like, you know, it wasn't going to be okay, but it totally is. It's fine. So,
Yeah.
Well, recipes are just something that people invented as
it's
something
just-
to do with
yeah,
their food.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Put things, although I have to admit, if you're following a recipe, it's more likely to turn out really, really good.
Yeah.
You know what, my husband, I came home, I was working on election day in November as an election inspector, and I came home that evening, that after the polls were closed, and I thought it smelled like my husband had made fudge, and it turned out he had. He'd taken an old recipe that he used to use to make fudge, except that he's gone off of dairy also, so he was using almond milk, and in place of the milk that the fudge called for, and I think he did something else different too, something that was, maybe the old recipe called for butter, and maybe he used earth balance or something, but the texture, it looked really strange to look at. You know, I mean, it might not look like, it wound up, it was tasting okay.
That's good.
But it definitely didn't look like fudge normally looks for, you know, those people who like to make fudge. But I mean, you know, it doesn't have to look perfect
Nope.
to taste good.
True.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, don't be afraid to experiment. That's our motto. And be flexible. If you have a menu plan and for some reason it just doesn't work that week, don't give up.
No.
There are weeks that we sit down to do our menu planning and we talk about how how our last week went, and there are weeks that I haven't followed my menu plan at all, and I'm honest about that. And then I just, you know, we have planners, and so we write our menu plan in our planners, and I just move everything down to the next week. And
In a way, it's good to plan your menus out before you go to the grocery store.
Absolutely.
yes,
However, you might be the kind of person who wants to buy the stuff that's on special that week too. So that kind of complicates things a little bit. You have to be really creative. I mean, you can go to the store and buy the things that are on special that particular week. And you can usually come up with things to do with them, but
sure.
Yeah.
but it might somebody who's new at it might find that pretty complicated.
right. And so that's a good time to hit the internet and
Yeah.
you know, Google what can I do with
I bought
like
this,
pork
this,
loin,
and
or-
this.
yeah, you know, what can I make with it? And there's lots of information out there. We often, I haven't the last couple weeks, but we try to have the sales flyers
Yes.
for like Tops, and she lives in South Dayton,
Yeah.
so she brings the South Dayton Market sales flyer with her, and we talk about some of the stuff that's on sale.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, we will look for the sale items and say, hey, what can I do with that? And see if we can come up with and we're going for easy recipes.
Well, you know, I'm the kind of person who does not mind just eating that one thing. Like,
Yes.
you got your garden in the summer. I don't mind just having just string beans by themselves for the main course at supper.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I mean, and not every meal has to be this great big huge thing. You know, you can just cook some chicken breast. You can bake some potatoes and have some green beans, and they can be canned. Canned green beans are healthy. Frozen green beans are healthy. Fresh green beans are healthy. So you know, there's, and oftentimes the canned is more affordable. And if that's what they can afford, and then that's what we encourage. Just whatever it takes, and
You probably encourage people to have vegetable gardens in their yards, don't you? Or not?
It's possible if they have the space for container gardens, even then, you know, and they are interested. Because there's not a lot of point if you're not interested and you don't follow through with it. Then you may have wasted money on seed or whatever. And
But the great thing about our Healthy Sense curriculum is the focus on Healthy Sense is, in addition to how to prepare healthy foods, is how to afford them. And there is a lesson about container gardening that is really helpful. And, you know, you can grow lots of things in containers.
Oh, you know what my husband did? Earlier this year, it was like maybe at the tail end of the winter, maybe March or early April or something like that. It was like around about the last time we bought some grapefruit at the end of the winter. And the grapefruit that he was eating one morning had 3 seeds in it that had sprouted. So he took them and planted them in 3 little tiny pots to see if they would grow. Well, one of them did.
Wow.
One of them is a grapefruit plant that's growing up here in New York State on our kitchen windowsill.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's cool. And
That was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if it gets really big what we're going to do with it, because you can't have it.
Yeah, you can't put it outside.
I don't know how big grapefruit plants are when they in their normal habitat or anything. I don't know.
they're
how
a
big.
tree, and they can get pretty big,
Can
but
they?
you can prune it.
Yeah, probably.
bonsai project.
Yeah, there you go.
But anyway, that was pretty interesting. Having a grapefruit plant in our kitchen. We'll probably never get a grapefruit off of it, but it was kind of fun. He enjoyed seeing it turn into something.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I've been playing with mint. My husband got me a new teapot for my birthday last year. And I actually loved the teapot I had, but it was as old as our marriage, and he thought we needed a new one. So I didn't want to lose the teapot, so I planted mint, because mint tends to be rather invasive. So I planted the mint in my teapot, and I have mint tea. But I brought it in for the winter, and I don't know how it'll do, but we'll see.
Yeah, if you water it, it should be fine.
Yeah.
You could put, I don't know in a container how it would do over the winter, but the mint comes back every year.
Yeah, I know
have
it's a perennial. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a mint patch at my house, and yeah, I would rather have mint growing in my grass than regular weeds, because when you mow it, it'll just smell good.
It does, absolutely.
I see head shaking over there.
there is.
Oh no.
Oh gosh, we're down to a little over 4 minutes. It just occurred to me.
Yeah.
Wow. So how did you like your soup?
All right.
Very cool.
I do want to give one more plug for our Facebook page is Nutrition Educators
Of Chautauqua.
of Chautauqua, and on Fridays at 11:30 is when we have our Facebook Live where we menu plan, and when the weather's good, we're outside together, and when the weather's not good, then we're actually on a split screen. In different locations, but we're getting there, and we talk about, you know, we literally just sit and plan our menu and talk about our successes, our failures, new recipes maybe we want to try, and then we always encourage people to comment, and if you can't catch us while it's live, it's still there on Facebook, and you can go back and look at our. We've been doing this since July.
Yeah.
We've only missed a couple of weeks. Of course, we missed Thanksgiving because we were off that day, the Friday, and then the week before we both had other appointments. So we didn't do it that week. But yeah, we have some good information. So check us out.
Yeah, the Facebook page itself has a lot of food safety information. We try to do some movement things here and there, and just a variety of topics around food and nutrition that we try to cover. So Yeah, and again about the sessions, they are 6 to 8 sessions for a series. They're one a week. We do meet individuals in public spaces now because of COVID. We used to be able to go right to homes, and we would bring a food sample with the recipe for them to try. And we can't do that right now, but I think probably it'll come back. But we can use Zoom. We can meet in public spaces using our social distancing and masks. And we do meet in groups too. So if you have some friends that are interested in nutrition and you wanted to start a Facebook Live group or a Zoom group, then we meet privately and we'll do the sessions that way, and it's a lot of fun. So we try to make it fun.
Yeah. You do the best you can with what you've got to work with.
Yes, yep, that's for sure. And if you want this recipe, so it's mulligatawny soup, and it's if you Google Broome County CCE, Cornell Cooperative Extension, and mulligatawny soup, the recipe should be right there.
Do you want to spell mulligatawny for them?
Yeah, so it's MULLIGATAWNY, mulligatawny.
Yeah. And when this
Okay,
airs, we
yeah.
can post it on our Facebook page with the link too.
Yeah,
and the
we'll do
ingredients,
that
so
for sure. Yep.
we'll make sure it's available.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've had a lot of fun today, and I had having an early lunch here of mulligatawny soup. And so anyways, I'm going to show you, I'm going to get the calendar out after we go off the air so we can schedule you for a yoga.
Oh, we're doing a yoga session? Okay.
A yoga session for an hour. We did that, I did that one other time, about a year and a half ago. Somebody came up from Warren, Pennsylvania, and we did chair yoga.
Yes.
And so that was a lot of fun. But I'm glad I had the chance to meet you today, and meet you again for the second time.
Yeah, thanks
and,
for having us back.
You're so welcome, and thank you for coming on and showing us how to make mulligatawny soup. And we found out that somebody was here in the studio when you first got here who said he used to make it when he was in the Navy.
Yeah.
So-
I had never heard of it before this, so
So you just found it on the internet.
yeah.
So anyway, we will plan on having you girls back again for another food demonstration.
Anytime.
Also.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that now that we're going off the air. And I'll see those of you in the viewing audience on the next episode.